Howdy, folks. Welcome to Camera Shake, where we bring you the insider scoop on all things photography and videography, giving you a unique opportunity to stay ahead of the curve. We've spent literally hundreds of hours interviewing some of the most renowned photographers of our time, giving you access to knowledge and expertise that's not available anywhere else. As always, I'm your host, Kirsten Nuts, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to get creative and take your portrait photography to the next level. Her images will make your face melt. Let me tell you, so buckle up, grab a cold one, and let's shake it up with today's guest right after this. Welcome to Camera Shake Podcast, episode 149. But hang on, before we get into today's episode, I have one small favor to ask of you. If you enjoy this podcast, please join the Camera Shake community over on camerashakepodcast.com so that you're the first ones to know when we've got exciting news for you. You'll find the link in the description, or unless I forget to put it there, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be right down here somewhere on the screen. But without further ado, let's give it up for today's special guest, the Orlando-based creative portrait photographer, educator, author, and self-confessed Photoshop addict. Her portraits are so punchy they'll knock the creative cobwebs right out of your brain. Give it up for GILMAR Smith. GILMAR, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I love that introduction. I should make you write my bio. I'm so bad at it.
Thank you so
much for having me. Yeah, I'm super excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's you've been on my list of people that I really want to talk to for a very long time. I have to say, I'm super happy that finally we managed to get into Darius.
We finally did it. Thank you for being so patient with me. I appreciate it.
That's all right. That's all right. Okay, Hilma, it's for those who don't know what you do. It's I think one way that you describe yourself is you're a conceptual portrait photographer.
Yeah, it is really weird to me because whenever people ask me about my photography and whatever, it's really for me to put it into words because it is something that I just tap into my silly side of my brain, and that's where my ideas for my photography comes from. So, my whole photography vibe has been very, very organic from the very beginning, and I've always been trying to do whatever resonates to me or define me as a person. So, and that tends to be like a little out there when it comes to color, when it comes to ideas, when it comes to craziness, and the thing is that some people like it, some other people don't like it, but I love doing it, and I'm very loyal to the flow of that craziness when it comes to photography. So to put it really into words is really hard for me. So I think that conceptual will be a good definition of it because it comes from the silliest ideas that I get when I'm either taking a shower or driving, because that's where mostly.
I mean, that's actually a really good description because there's so much humor in your photography, in your shots. It's every time it's one of these funny things. Every time I come across one of your shots, first of all, I think I can almost always pinpoint that it's you. So that's one thing. It's so strikingly recognizable. But the other thing is rather than, a lot of times you look at shots and, you literally look at them for a second and you move on to the next one. But with your shots, there's so much storytelling in each photograph, so much humor that, I always think it must take absolutely forever to either come up with the concept or then to bring it from the idea to the final shot. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about. It's like, first of all, how do you come up with these ideas? And then secondly, what's the process, of taking it from the initial idea to the finished shot? So let's talk about the ideas first. So how do you come up with this stuff?
Well, I am originally from Venezuela, and humor in my family and in my country in general is a big part of it. Like country, the economy, everything might be falling apart in there, and there is always jokes about it. I haven't seen that in that much anywhere else. So it's something that it was innate in me, into everything. And I have been like self portraits in photography in general have been something that have helped me get through so many difficult parts of my life. And I have taken my I wouldn't say my style, but my ideas into different corners and in different areas that are complete opposite to each one of them. Like there are pictures that I used to do that used to be super sad, super depressing, and all of that because I was in that dark hole in my life. But then, while I was there, I realized that every time that I created images with those dark tones and without humor and really like pouring my heart into them, it was kind of healing. But at the same time, I found myself ruminating into those really dark thoughts and those feelings. So to me, it was like, I don't want to live in here. I mean, I need to express it. I need to get it out of me. And I did it. But then I realized that when I started creating things, and I was still feeling depressed and I was still feeling sad, but whenever I was starting to do something more colorful, fun, and using humor, my complete feeling and my mood and my vibe completely changed. And I like that better. And I like the energy that I was receiving back from my audience, because, you receive what you give, So, and it was completely different. And then I repeated and I keep doing that kind of stuff. And then I realized, this is what photography can do to me. And this is what I can do to everybody else, because people always will write me and tell me, oh, your pictures are so funny, or they make me laugh, or they always light up my day. In contrast to when I was doing pieces that were more emotional and dark and all of that, I was kind of receiving and ruminating into that darkness and all of that. So it was a choice, and it was a choice not just to do something. It was a choice because I've always, like in my group of friends and growing up and at school, and I still in contact with friends from elementary school, and they can all tell you that I have always been the crazy one, that I have always been the funny one, and I've been the one that was like out there or getting in trouble in all of that. So it was just like tapping into those part of myself that I missed when I was depressed or when I was grieving or when I was sad, that helped me found myself again and bringing all that part of me that I love, that I really identify with, and putting it into my work. And that somehow, and all of that was born by doing self-portraits. And that's how I created my whole personal style that I use now with clients and in campaigns and pretty much everything that I do. But it's really tapping into yourself and those part of you that you like them, because we all have parts of us that we hate and we don't like, but they're part of us that when you think about yourself and you think about that's me, that you really say, that's the part of me that I enjoy the most or that I want to put out there. To me, is the colorful, the joyful, the funny, the humor, the silliness, that it can resonate to you, but it cannot resonate to some other people. But I don't give a flying F because I'm doing what it makes me happy.
It's a really interesting thing you just said, because I find that too, is that creative endeavors can really pull you out of a deep hole when life just doesn't play the cards right, and you find yourself in a situation where you might be sort of looking down the deep dark well, and creative endeavors, photography on one hand, but it could be just about anything, I guess. It could be painting or graphic design or whatever. Sometimes that is the one thing that just throws you a rope that allows you to pull yourself out of that hole again. And that's really interesting, that that you talk about that, because I had a not too dissimilar experience about maybe like 8 years ago, I guess. I think 2013. I talked about this on this podcast several times. You know, it was one of these things where my life had just come to an end of that particular stage, you know, and, you know, I had some deaths in the family and a relationship breakup and all the rest of it. And, you know, I had a very young daughter at the time. And it just all seemed to happen all at the same time. And it's, you know, I'm certainly not a depressed person by a long stretch, but that really knocked me for six. And it was a good 12 months where I was looking down, you know, I was looking down not the barrel of a gun, but you know what I mean? It was getting...
To me, it's the same. I mean, in a matter of 3 years, I got divorced. My son got diagnosed with autism. I found my Prince Charming. I had another daughter, and I got postpartum depression. And while I was in my darkest side of postpartum depression, my Prince Charming passed away, and my daughter was barely 1 year old. And it was just like boom, 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 one thing after the other, and I couldn't catch my breath. But every time that I was going through all of that, and grief is a motherfucker. Grief is something that you never get over. And the day that you feel the happiest, it can just beat you in the head and can just take you down. And to me, and when I talk to you about expressing myself and doing dark things, I express my grief so many times in my self-portraiture. And it came to a moment that I cannot live like that. And I will never say that my photography stopped me for grieving, because it doesn't happen like that. But it was a choice that I was like, if photography makes me go into this flow when nothing else matters, why will I ruminate into the things that I want to forget about when I'm doing photography, doing my self-portrait? And it was a matter of choice. But yeah, and I think that is art in general, or whatever that we do that make us happy. I was just listening to this audiobook a couple of days ago, and I'm gonna be listening to it a bazillion times. And it is called something about Stop Thinking. It's by John Nguyen. I'm looking for it on my Audible. Because to me, don't believe everything you think. And it's absolutely fantastic. And in one of the parts of the book, it says that think about what you were thinking when you were completely happy. And if you think about it, just the moment that you have been the happiest in your life, what were you thinking? And the thing is that you were not thinking. You were just feeling, you know? And to me, when I'm creating, when I'm doing something for myself, sometimes it happens when you're doing something for a client, but when I'm doing my personal work, or when I'm doing something with my kids, or with my self-portrait, I am not thinking, I'm doing. I'm in the flow. And that's the true essence of ourselves, is just doing and just being in that flow. So to me, coming up with these ideas is being in the flow. Being in the flow happens sometimes when I'm taking a shower, and all of these ideas start popping up, poof, 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 and it is just amazing, you know? But that happens because when I'm taking a shower, I'm not thinking about all the things that I have to do. I'm just there enjoying my time. And that's when you get the concepts and your best ideas, is when you are not thinking. Is if you sit in a corner and say, I'm going to think about 10 concepts of amazing things that I'm going to do, chances are that you're not going to be able to do it, because you're putting so much pressure into yourself. But if you're just living your life and you're just enjoying the moment, that's where the moments and those ideas come. I was talking about this a few years with a client, and he was asking me, like, what happened? When do you come up with these ideas? How do you do it? And I told him, they are in the shower. It's something that magically happens in the shower. I don't know why. And he gave me the best present that I have ever received. And it's this notepad with a special pen that you put in your shower.
Oh.
And it's amazing. It's just because sometimes it's so many things, and I have like super bad ADHD, it's just like boom, 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 and then I forget everything. And he gave me this pad, and I write on that pad everything, like the silliest thing. Like if somebody goes to my shower and read the notepad, they're gonna see that she's absolutely mad, you know. But it's amazing. So if you think about it, we put so much pressure in ourselves on how we make money and how we come up with ideas or conceptualize things or not. So what I try to do is just put my money to the things that I love and that I enjoy doing, and the kind of, because in the photography world or anything, there is always this horrible part of it that is like, am I gonna make money? Do I have to sacrifice this part of myself? Do I have to do this style? Do I have to do this just to, to please somebody in order to make business, or to do certain things out of, need, because you need to get paid to pay your bills. And I'm a single mom and I have 2 kids. But there have been so many times in my life that I have done things in my work, in my photography work, that I just don't feel good about it, or they're not my style, or it's just something that I don't want to teach, or something that I don't want to shoot, and all of that. And one of the things, since my photography business was born during the hardest time of my life, when it was grief, it was when I decided that I was I was so depressed in my life that I couldn't see myself working for anybody or doing anything that didn't make me happy. And at that time, I gave myself 6 months or a year just to start making money out of photography. But to me, it was something that I scratched the walls with my nails. And it's something that I built out of the darkest side of my life, in the darkest hole. And I have so much respect to the work that I put into it and what I built, because I only know in the darkest side that I was. So I try to keep that in my head and say, hey, you built this so much. So if you're going to do something for money out of necessity, do not sacrifice your photography. Do not sacrifice your truth, and do something else, but just keep your eye on the prize. That is just being authentically you, and do only the things that you are happy with, and creating the content and the style, and making the things that you want. And I give you an example. I do a lot of personal brand photography. And there are zillion, I don't know if in the UK it's like that, but here there are zillion personal brand photographers. But there is like in every, and it's not that I'm batching or anything. It's just like there is a system in a certain style. It's in the coffee shop with the computer. It's in the white background. In all the pictures, you can do a Google search, and all of them look the same.
It's light and
charge
fluffy.
More. Yeah, I charge more than any other photographer here, a brand photographer here in Orlando. But I will sit with you for an hour or two, and I'm going to get to know you, and I'm going to get to know how you build your brand, and what your style is, and what your favorite color. And then I'm going to create for you something that not your neighbor or your competitor or anybody's going to do. I'm going to create something for you that is going to be just you, and it's going to be popping, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to have a blast doing it, and that I'm going to feel 100% that I'm giving you something unique. And that way, I know that I'm doing something for me that is giving you the gift of authenticity, and I'm giving you something different, and I'm sticking to my truth that is creating something unique and different every time that I shoot, because I get bored so easily. And of course, I have a style, and of course, my things are colorful. But if you look at my thing there, I have many clients that I do pictures that are not super colorful, but you can still see that they were created by me. But I don't know if it's a plus or not, that I just cannot follow those patterns of doing the same thing over and over again, or buy a system for this kind of photography and following it. It just like kill me. I cannot do it. It's just my brain doesn't work like that. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's not good, but it's just not me.
But see, I love that. I love that because I totally agree with you on the personal branding side, because I often wonder, when I look at personal branding images, it's like I always think like, well, they're so samey.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. It's just branding photography. It's not personal at all.
Yeah, right.
They all look the same. Yeah, it's so that's I love that. The coming up with the concept, because I try and do that by as far as I can in my own photography. Also, when it comes to headshots and branding photography. I think in the UK, what's the best way to say that without offending anyone? That's what I wonder. Seeing that I am in the UK, but I think sometimes it's very difficult sometimes to find people who are willing to break the mold. Clients who are basically gonna, okay, well, let's just go for it. Let's do something crazy or something totally different. Very often, they have like very definitive ideas as to what they want, and that's what I sometimes find is it's a little bit difficult to move them away from thinking standard thoughts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when I do my self-portraiture, I do it for myself. But when I put it there, every time that I put something there on my Instagram or whatever, and those are pictures that I'm using for my tutorials and whatever I'm teaching too, because it's easier, because I have, and that's the other beauty about self-portraiture, is that you have all the time available for yourself. You have all the creativity freedom that you want. You can try several things. It isn't uncomfortable as fuck, because I'm not going to lie to you. You're sitting in front of the camera. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. You're always going to feel weird, But if you pass through that and you push yourself through that, then you can create all amazing things. And for me, to doing those self-portraits and putting them out there, I'm showing people what I can do. Like, I can do something like that for you if you just trust me. And I have had clients for several years in the personal branding, and then I see that they go to the regular because probably they want more amount of pictures, because obviously if I'm doing something so customized, I cannot offer them 100 pictures, because my style of working requires more retouching, requires more time, and I'm my packages. I'm not gonna offer 100 pictures. It's just not my business plan. So they always come back, and say, "Oh, I took these pictures with this photographer, but then this girl and this girl and this girl and this girl, they have the exact same one." And I'm just like, well, there you go, Yeah. So is the part of really trusting yourself, and I'm not doing this just to try to show like if what I do is better or not. Probably they are making more money than me. I don't know. But to me, the personal side and how I feel as an artist is way more valuable than anything else. And I think that I think that is the part that I build all of this photography business out of the darkest side of my life, that it is extremely hard for me just to do something for money, just to receive a paycheck. I really have to have that emotional connection with the project. I really have to love what I do. If not, I will just core myself in a hard blanket and watch Netflix and eat Cheetos for today until I feel better. But it's just trying to be true to who you are as an artist. That is, to me, the most important part in this business. And if you look at it a certain way, the photographers that have built a style, or there are memorables or whatever, they were not photographers that were following a trend, or they were not the ones that were doing everything out of the handbook. They were people that were thinking outside of the box. They were thinking that people that were trying to push and do something different, and they were really rude to themselves. Most of them were depressed. But it is what it is. So and at the same time, I'm trying to teach my kids. I have two kids that watch me, and they like, whenever we go to Calvi One to film, or whenever I'm doing, they go with me pretty much to all of my presentations and all of that. So I'm sitting and I'm talking about all of this, and they're looking at it. And they leave it with me. So if I am not making it in photography, at least I want to just know to embed that thing in their head, that they have just to be stubborn and just to go with what they want and what they love. And I think that's the most magical thing that you can do in life.
Absolutely. That's why I always say that your personal projects are so important. It's so important to just, get your head into a different space and just do something that you only do for yourself. Something that where you don't have to worry about what client thinks, what the brief is, whether you're wearing off of the brief or not, or, it's just something where you can be as creative as you want for no particular return as well. That's the other thing, because with personal projects, I think you can just do whatever you want. You can be as crazy as you want. And I think one of the things that I always feel that holds people back when it comes to realizing ideas is that I think we as humans, we have this built-in negativity bias. Where basically you go like, oh man, wouldn't that be cool if, oh yeah, but that's never going to happen. And as soon as that negative thought comes in, I always feel like it's important to say, well, that's a really cool idea, and I'm just going to do it, regardless of.
We get stuck in the suck.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. We get stuck in the suck. Love it.
Yeah, we get stuck in it, and it's ruminating in your head and all of the things. And to me, I try to push myself to be brave and to make the calls and to write the emails and to do out there. And just like 3 weeks ago, I was in Vegas in the Nikon stage in WPPI doing a presentation for Nikon that was on top of my bucket list for so many years. And I decided I'm just going to show the pictures that I love. And I will say like 95% of the presentation were personal projects that I did, but it was what people love the most out of what I do and what built my personal style, So it is being that stubborn. It is being that brave. It is just trusting yourself and trusting that people are going to hate you and some other people are going to love you. And I don't have to. So people hate my accent. Some people hate everything, And I'm fine with it because I don't like everybody either. If you think about it, you don't like everybody. So, but I want to make myself happy. I think that I deserve it. I think I have worked for it, and those are the things that I try to remember. Whenever I'm stuck in the suck, that I have to remember. Hey, when you didn't have any money and your Prince Charming passed away, and you found yourself absolutely broke with 2 kids and with a broken heart. You decided to go and give yourself 6 months or a year to start this photography business, and look of all of you have built, and I have to remember all of that, and I have to remember the tears and the self-doubt and all of that to keep pushing myself, and there have been many occasions that I have been sick and tired of the industry or the business or everything, but it's just like I didn't work this hard just to stop, So if I'm gonna keep pushing, I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be on my terms, and it's gonna be doing what I love and the way that I love it. And if it goes, it goes, and if it doesn't go, I just want to. If there is gonna be a time that I have to close the door and turn the lights off, I have to know that I gave my all the way that I wanted and the way that I felt it. Because if not, then I'm a failure, So I think that's the way to approach everything in life. It's just going for it, both fitting, and if it sucks and if it doesn't, and whatever,
So one of the first things that I saw of your work was a string of self-portraits. And I see there's a number of things that sort of directed my attention to your work. One is, of course, the colors and everything else. But for me, I'm really big on facial expressions. And I remember looking at your self-portraits, thinking like, these facial expressions are so funny. They're so hilarious. And then, of course, there's self-portraits, and you use a range of different props and everything. So let's talk about the actual the practical process of how you shoot these self-portraits. How do you do it?
It is part of the flow, and I have that is like, I come up with ideas, and then it's just like, how am I gonna get this thing in my head out of whatever. So of course I get props, and I have access to the biggest warehouse with props ever that you can imagine, like pretty much. But I have found that I'm the most creative when I have less. I think that scarcity is creativity's best friend. So I like to create, and I think that I get in my flow better when I build the set out of nowhere, or when I come up with silly things. But when I'm in front of the camera, that is the part that is the most uncomfortable, and we're gonna talk technical over here. And I know that you should Nikon and Smith. The first part of my workflow after I set up my lights, and that you can use the Nikon app to see yourself on your phone and all of that. So of course I set up my lighting, and I start shooting a few self-portraits using the app, because I can see how I look, I can see how my set looks, and all of that. The problem that I find with that technique is that I get too much into myself, because I have to put the timer and then get myself into the pose, and then I look how it looks, and then I do it again. And I start getting frustrated, because I think I feel tense doing it that way. So the first part of it, I do it that way. But then after I know that everything looks, and I know where I have to be in the set, and I know what I have to do and all of that, I turn off the app, and I go back to my camera, and I turn the interval shooting, the time interval shooting. And I put like to shoot one picture every 1.5 or 2 seconds. So I'm giving, if I'm shooting with a strobe, so I'm giving time to my lights to recycle, and for myself to change pose and whatever. And sometimes I set it like to even 50 pictures, and I turn that music on, and I started to enjoy my time and really be myself without having to look. Because I don't know if it has happened to you. If you have a client on your set and you build a mirror for them to look at themselves when they're posing, you're not going to get anything out of them, because they're going to be looking at the mirror.
All the time.
You're not going to be able to direct
all
them.
The time,
you're
yeah.
not going to be, because they're going to be so much. But if you take away the mirror and you start, using your talents to pose them and to really look good, then you're going to get something else. The same with when I'm using the camera, I'm getting so much into my head of how I should look or what I should be doing, that then the pictures are just like me, But if I do the interval thing, I'm just moving, and I turn the music on, and that's when the faces come out. That's when the silliness come out, And I think that's the best trick that you can use if you're doing this kind of thing. I think that I can look at my pictures and really pick the ones that I have done with the app and the ones that I have done without it, because I'm always tense when I'm using the app, even though I absolutely love that feature, and I use it every time at the beginning just to figure things out. Then I think that the interval time shooting is the way to go if you really want to bring out your personality.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh my gosh. I have like my taste of music go all over the place. You can find me like like listening to heavy metal, and then the next song will be like salsa music, something like that. And my Spotify is like that, and I absolutely love it because it's just like a wide range of what I don't like is this reggaeton music. But besides that, and I like I'm more into the rock, sometimes even heavy metal kind of thing, which is really funny because you see how colorful and pink the house is. But yeah, it changes. It changes a lot. Yeah.
See, I use the Nikon app as well. This is one of the things. I'm sure Canon do the same thing.
And a Platypod too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So what I do is I've got my phone, as you can see, on a Platypod Extreme.
Yeah.
With a gooseneck, and so I can position that anywhere. What I like about
my camera is on a Platypod Stream and in a product that we haven't launched yet.
Oh, I think
we're launching at the end of the year. Yeah, at the end of the month.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm not allowed to talk about that either. So, yeah, there'll be some interesting. Let's put it this way: there will be some interesting stuff coming out in the not too distant future. From our friends over at Platypod. So keep your eyes peeled. It'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's exactly what I do too. I used the Platypod. I put my phone on there with the app. Just to check that everything's lining up and everything else, because and here's a sort of a micro criticism of Nikon, because they still haven't managed to put a swivel screen on their cameras. I don't know why that's not happening, but wouldn't that be so much easier? But so yeah, and then what I tend to do is I have a laptop obviously out of shot, but so I can see it. And then it tethers through to there, and then I could basically take a shot. And what I used to do before somebody said to me, "No, why don't you just use the timer app?" I used to have a remote control, and so I'd set the camera to a 2-second delay, and I hit the remote, throw the remote away, pose, then it takes the shot. I'll review the shot on the.
It is so much easier right now. I remember when, like 10 years ago, when I started doing self-portraits and stuff, it was crazy just to do it, and you couldn't see anything, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was so much guesswork, like you just couldn't.
Yeah, it still was fun, and I'm just like, now I just think about it, and I was like, that was a lot of work,
Yeah, exactly.
Just take a picture and see. Now with the app, it's just like you can see where the light is hitting. You can see absolutely everything, and you can change your settings of the camera right with your phone, and it's so much easier. Yeah,
exactly.
To me, like when I switched to mirrorless and I started using the app, just completely changed my world.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the same for me.
So much easier. Yeah,
exactly. I used to do all that with a D750, and so there was like no app. It's everything was like you had to get up, walk behind the camera, you had to change the setting, and then if you waited for too long,
workout and frustration.
Oh, it was one of these things. You set it to a 2-second delay on the remote, and then if you didn't take a photo for a few minutes, it would then go default back to its default setting. Oh God, I'm gonna get up again. It's such a pain in the neck.
Yeah,
but it's gotten a lot. It's gotten a lot easier these days. Especially with mirrors. But that's actually it's an interesting thing, because I seem to remember you shooting Canon some time ago. So
long ago, yes. Yeah, and on my defense, I never bought that camera. That camera was bought by my ex-husband, and he just left it sitting. And I never intended to become a photographer at all. I remember that I always had a beef with my family because my brother had a zillion of pictures growing up and like a baby, and I never had 0. And we're just 11 months apart. So I was the ugly dog. I think that you met him in the photography show this year, the past one. He was there.
Oh, maybe I did.
Probably you did. He lives in Manchester. So he had so many pictures and I didn't. So my way to really piss my family off was like every time we had a family reunion and in anybody's house, I will ask for pictures of me as a baby or little, and nobody ever had one. So when my ex-husband got that camera and he left it seated, like he used it for like a month and then he just forgot about it. I said, and my intention was taking pictures of my son. And then I didn't want to take pictures of my son, like regular pictures. I wanted to do like something super cool and different, and that's how I at the time I joined Kelly training. It was called back then. And I started doing crazy things. But then when we got divorced, I was like, this is something that I'm going to keep with me. So I used that. And then when my daughter's dad, he was a race car engineer and he actually did a lot of photography too. And he was Nikon. So then I started going towards the Nikon side of things. But yeah.
Cool. So take us through through some of the technical aspects of a typical photo shoot. So do you light things with strobes or do you use constant light?
I have been moving now because it's not that I wanna become a cinematographer or anything. It's just like I feel like video is so important right now that I want to really tap into it. And I have been experimenting and trying to work now with constant light, but I learned photography and everything with strobes. So to me, it's been like kind of not hard, but it's been like kind of weird trying to adapt. I mostly use Elinchrom. I have been using Elinchrom since 2012 when I started photography. And it's really up to whatever I'm gonna do. But it's usually I first it comes the concept, then it comes the color palettes and the props. Then I set up everything, and then I light my shoots. But like if you see like some of the pictures that I have, like self-portraits I have a series that I did with food, and it's just doing the silliest things with the most mundane things. And I think that those kind of projects are the ones that I'm the most passionate about, because they're so simple things that you see every day, but then how you can use them to do something creative or something fun. And then I have like my kids like pouring sprinkles on me, or I put myself a bowl cap on that it takes like whatever, and it's a nightmare to do. And then I glue like ice cream cones in my head. But that whole process that it takes to do, just to get myself ready to get, like I first set up the set, then I get myself ready. All of that might take like 5, 6, 7 hours. And so to really like, there was a time that I did, I don't know if I can send those to you, that I did like these school brides or whatever from Dia de los Muertos. And they were beads that instead of doing makeup, I created with beads. And I spent a whole day just putting the beads to take a picture to then wash them off my face. So, but those are the times that I really get on the flow and that the house can fall apart and nothing really matters. It's putting the things and getting them in the right spot and then taking the picture.
What was your?
And that's how you really know that you love something.
Yeah. What was your most challenging photo shoot to date?
With clients or with myself or whatever.
Just from a creativity point of view, or like realizing that photo shoot.
I think the creativity point of view, the one that took me the longest to do was that one that I did the beads in my face. That like when I was halfway done, I was like, why? Why? But now I'm halfway done. I have to keep doing it, and it took me forever. But I can tell you I enjoyed every single second of it. And those times when I had to do the whole makeup and I have to build the set and I have to do the most thing and I have to spend the most time, those are the ones that I enjoy the most, because I can really put myself into them and I can really enjoy every single second of them.
And it also allows you to cut everything else out, like all the other noise that's going on in life, you know?
Oh, yes, definitely. That's what I do it.
Yeah, it's like taking a holiday from life.
Yeah, of course. And I'm telling you, I have done so many projects, personal projects throughout my life. And I think the one with the beads, it was during, I had my daughter, and the thing is, like, before having my daughter, I was in bed rest for my whole pregnancy. Then I had my daughter, and I was like, oh yeah, and then just like my hormones and whatever, it was like I had this horrible postpartum depression, and it was weird because I don't know if you know about postpartum depression. It's just like a really disconnection with yourself. It was like it's not that I didn't like my life, or it's not that I didn't love my kids. I absolutely, like, I remember the only time that I really felt grounded when I was having like my daughter on top of me, like skin to skin, and that was like recharging for me. But it was like a disconnection, like I didn't know who I was, or I could see myself in the mirror, and in the reflection on the mirror, it was just somebody that I couldn't recognize. It's just completely losing the essence of yourself. And I think during that time, it was because there was so much going on and so much changes and so many things that I didn't have the time to really navigate and to really deal with. So as a crazy person with a newborn, I decided that I was going to do a 365 self-portrait project because
what else were you doing
with that idea? Yeah. But it was crazy because I will just plan every shoot and every concept for every day in a calendar, like really detailed. Every day I knew exactly what I was going to do, what I needed to do, if I needed to shop. And then I will schedule, like, I'm going to set up the lights. I'm going to set up the background on my daughter's first nap. And then I'm going to feed her, change her diaper and burp her. And then she's going to go back to sleep. And then I'm going to put up the lights. And then, you know, in the other, I'm going to do my makeup. And then the other, I'm going to shoot it. And then in the other one, I will just retouch it, you know? And it was just scheduling. And the funny thing about that project is that I kept doing it and I kept pushing it. And now I think about it, I was like crazy. And how did I make the time to do it? And every time that I was putting all those pictures out, people were saying, no, that's so funny. Every day I'm waiting to see what picture they're putting up. They always make me laugh. And I was so depressed. And people kept telling me, these are making me laugh. These are so funny. These are making me laugh. These are so funny. And then like at the month or 20 days after I started, and people kept writing those things to me on my website or on Facebook or Instagram, I realized like, hey, what the fuck? I'm not depressed anymore. I'm just having the best time of my life. And you know, and I could schedule or was dinner ready? Sometimes it was not. Was it McDonald's? Yeah, but I was, you know, finding myself again. So it's just finding the moments of flow. And if you really want to, and I think that coming with ideas, I think that we can all do that. You're just really pushing yourself to do them. Because yes. I have a freaking long list of things that I want to do in concept and amazing things and amazing projects. It's really pushing yourself. And to me, I don't know if it happens to you. It's just that starting point, that first step, that is the hardest one. Then when I find myself there in my garage studio and whatever, and I'm already into it, nothing fucking matters. I'm just doing it. I'm having the best time of my life, and it's done, and it was enjoyable. But it's that first step that is self-doubt, that is just so many, is thinking. It's like I was telling you about that book. Is stop thinking and just do it. And then things get done. But I think that coming up with the ideas, we can all come up with the ideas if we tap into our silly selves, into listening to songs and just speak like a little phrase of the song and trying to turn it into an image. It's just like try to tell a story of whatever I mean, it's not the idea. It's just like pushing yourself to really do is where things get lost.
Let me just say a quick thank you to our sponsor, DVE Store. DVE Store's mission is to help you create better video and provide you with the tools necessary to explore your creativity. If you have any digital video equipment needs, whether that's camera equipment, audio gear, or lighting, and much more, you can check them out at dvestore.com. Thank you to DVE Store for the high-def video. And of course, you can find a link to DVE Store in the description. You know, it's a funny thing. So in a previous life, before I did this, I used to be a session musician. And so what would happen would be, you know, you get hired to be at a studio at a certain time on a certain day, like, I don't know, Thursday at 2:00 or something. And that's when the session would start. And then you'd have a couple of hours or, you know, or an afternoon or something to record some music. And because of the very nature and the type of music that I used to record a lot, which was a lot of R&B, hip hop type of music. Although I'm a guitarist, but I have a very funky playing style, so I fit quite well. There were never any pre-prepared parts. It was literally, you know, I'd rock up and I'd be like, okay, well, here's a groove, and we just want to, well, you put some funky guitar down, and I'd be like, okay, now I have to come up with something. I literally have to make it up on the spot. And in the beginning, I always thought, like, well, that's really difficult. How do you do that? Like, you know, on a Thursday at 2:00, like, how can you be creative on a Thursday at 2:00? You know, rather than, you know, and what I found was I just started using an image in my head, which was literally like a door with a lock, you know. And all your creativity and your creative thoughts are basically behind that door on the other side. And all you need really is that key in your mind. This is how I always thought of it. And I just unlock the door and I open the door and it all comes flowing out. And once you're in that mental zone, it'll just flow. And it's no, you know, there's no shortage of ideas. It's just, you know, you can, you know, and of course in music, you know, let's say there was a drum groove and a bass part or something, you know, there's always something that kicks off that spark. You know, there might be something in the bass line or something in the drum groove, or there might be a keyboard part or something. You're like, oh yeah, I can sit in that with some funky guitar line. And so it really was never actually hard to come up with anything. And it, you know, actually the contrary is probably true. I remember, like, I used to record so many different bits and parts that the producer in the end would have to go like, well, okay, well, all right, we've got so much stuff. Just let's use this and that, but we're not going to use this and something else. So there was always an abundance of stuff to pick from.
Yeah,
you know?
Because you're in the flow and you're opening the door, as you said, you know? And it's the same thing. I think that with motivation and inspiration, I think that motivation and inspiration come out of action, you know? Because if I can sit in the sofa and say, I lost my mojo, I don't know what to do, you know? Nothing, you're not going to do anything. But if you get out there and you really start creating, and I think that something, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it. And I think that is extremely necessary as creators or artists. It's like we have to allow ourselves to talk, you know? It's just like everybody is in a thing that everything has to be perfect, or you know, or you get stuck into doing this certain thing and you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and then you find people complaining about they lost their mojo, the inspiration, or whatever. Well, fuck, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over. There is not going to be inspiration. There is not going to be anything if you're not trying something new. And that's what I love, trying new things and experimenting and looking all around and see how I can incorporate new things into my photography. It really sucks, you know, and I will just like, okay, I tried this something new and I can put it on Instagram. There are people going to like it. There are people going to say, oh, she lost it. That sucked. I don't give a flying F because I'm having fun. And I know that whatever I'm tapping into it and whatever I'm trying to incorporate and whatever I'm trying is giving me different techniques and it's giving me a different experience that I can incorporate into different kind of things after, you know? But nothing of that is going to happen if we spend the whole day just scrolling and not getting ourselves into action. And, you know, I don't care anymore if I suck or not, and if I try a technique and it just flop. I think that the magic moment comes from bravery and for making mistakes, because if I didn't make a mistake ever in my life, I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm going to keep making mistakes. And even the best athletes that train their whole time. They're gonna have bad races. They're gonna have like moments that they're gonna fail, they're gonna fall, or they're not gonna perform the way that people are expecting them. And I think that we have to allow ourselves to those sucky moments and to navigate them and to move, from them and to learn from them. And I mean, if I just tell my kids all the time, I have a little one that is gifted and is a perfectionist and is highly sensitive, and she's super scared into failing. And every time that something goes wrong in my life, in every single aspect, whether it's my photography or in my teachings or my presentations or my computer or whatever, I just come and tell her, hey, come here. You see, I tried to do this and this sucked. But you know what I'm going to do? I cannot do anything. I cannot change it. It sucked already. I mean, let's learn from it. And I think that there are very, very few people in this industry that does it, especially when they reach certain level that they never show something or that something went wrong with whatever they did, or a picture came out wrong, or a technique came out wrong. And I think that when we show that part and I wouldn't say those broken part of ourselves, because I don't think that making mistakes or failing into something or flopping into something will make us broken. But I think that is human, just to show that whoa, I've been doing photography for 10 years, and now every shot that I take with my camera is absolutely perfect. Fuck no. Sometimes I take pictures. Yeah. Sometimes I take pictures and I still have my lens cap on, So,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. Or you forgot to change the settings from the previous time, So I think that we should allow, more of that into our lives and show more of that to everybody.
Yeah, failure is a really important concept, actually. It's what matters is, it doesn't matter whether you fail or not. I think what matters is how you deal with that failure.
Yeah.
That's the important part. And I remember this again, and I draw these parallels between music and photography, because for me, they're actually, in a weird way, they're kind of the same thing. It's a creative process.
Of course, it's creativity, it's art, is awesome.
Exactly, and a lot of things are very, very similar. And I remember, when I was a kid and I was practicing the guitar, and I think part of it was interesting. I had a really good conversation with Steve Brazel about this, and just by talking to him about this, it's a number of things all of a sudden made sense in my head. And I think, I think I got so much into guitar playing when I was a kid because everybody around me was a photographer, like my dad and my grandmother and everything. And so I kind of thought, I'll rebel a little bit and I'll do something different. But I remember, being like a total perfectionist when it came to learning how to play the guitar. And even then, when I started playing in bands, it was the same thing. I had the same expectation of everybody else in the room, and of course, it's a completely unrealistic, expectation to have. And the end result is it's always going to end in disappointment, because nothing's ever perfect, and nobody ever always plays the right notes. And so there are going to be mistakes, happening.
Yeah.
And some years later, I figured that if I took that. If I took these mistakes and then we'd have a laugh about it, and we just go, after we'll play a tune, and by the end of it, we'd go like, oh man, that thing that happened in the first break wasn't that funny, and I really couldn't, I just couldn't get my hand to the right chord in time. That's just what happened. And so, and then all of a sudden you treat it with humor, and then it becomes, you humanize it.
Yeah, and you learn from it, and you don't beat yourself, like about it all the time.
Exactly.
I think that's the worst part of us as humans, that we just love to torture ourselves. There is this this Buddha thing that says, like, is like whenever something happens to you, there is a first arrow. I don't exactly remember how it is, and then there is the second arrow, that is how you react to it. And the second one is more important than the first one. The first one you cannot control because you're gonna get hurt. There are gonna be shit in your life that are gonna go wrong, and you're gonna suffer. But the second one is your choice of how you're gonna react to it, or if you're gonna ruminate over it, if you're gonna just learn from it, if you're gonna transform yourself into a better version of yourself because of it. So it's the second arrow, the one that is the most important, is how you just bloom after that, and or you just dig a hole for yourself. And I think that's go ahead.
Yeah, there's only one thing I think that's certain, and that's the fact that we're all going to fail in our creative endeavors at some point, and it's
in your creative endeavors and everything. Because even as a mom, one of the missions of my life have always been not to make the same mistake that my parents made to me and with me, and oh my God, it is hard, but at the same time, I just know how much hurt I had as a kid for lack of so many things in my life. But there are certain parts in my life as a parent that I just talk to my kids, and then I just, that would be something that my mother or my daughter or my father will say, and I'm just like, oh, or probably I have so many things going on in my life, and my daughter is telling me something, and I don't want, and it's just know that I'm not going to be perfect all the time. But if there is a gift that I always tell my kids and that I always give them, it's just that I always sit with them, and I always apologize when I feel that I mess up. And I never, ever, ever, even now as an adult, I never had that with my parents. They fucked up really bad, So I think that if we hold ourselves accountable in every part of our life, as artists, as parents, business owners, as whatever, and say, well, this thing didn't go right. It's probably because I fucked up this way, or I didn't take the right decision, or I have to do this and that, because you're gonna have those thoughts. And I think that one thing that we should do always in whatever aspect of our lives is just like taking a little time to analyze really why things happen and what you can go from there. Because if you just go and don't analyze, then and you move to the other part of it, the whole situation will be wasted because you're not learning anything from it. But we are gonna fucked up, and I think that we are all. And there is actually one part in my life that I always tell my brother when I'm talking with him. It's just like, dude, I'm pretty much certain that we live in the bad place, that we're in hell right here, and it's how we make it. And that's how, because everything, if you look around, everything is just more towards the how we fucked up, and it's really the hardest part is how to make things right. So it's a decision, and it comes a lot with accountability.
Exactly. I mean, luckily in things like Photoshop, for example, we can screw up and then we can go back and fix it. Yeah, exactly. Command C, or just delete that layer. Let's just start again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But but it's just looking at life like we look at pictures. We just try just to retouch a little bit here and add a little bit of flair over there.
It's sometimes especially when I'm tired and I don't really have all my wits about me, really. Sometimes I look at things and I instinctively go, oh, yeah, I'm just going to retouch that out. And I'm thinking, no, I can't, because this is real life. I can't just retouch it out. Damn it.
Oh, yeah. Or when you spend so much time retouching skin and retouching faces, haven't you found yourself just looking at somebody who's like, I will retouch that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you move slightly to the right, the light will be, falling in a better way, that it will be more pleasant, and it is annoying.
But the other day I had a scratch in my car, and I looked at it, and the first thought that came into my mind was like, yeah, I can clone it out, and no problem at all. No, and I'm like, oh no, it can't, because I'm gonna have to bring it to the shop.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your post-production process, because I know shooting, coming up with the ideas, and then going through the actual practical part of shooting is one thing, but then post-processing obviously is the other huge part of creating
Yes.
self-portraits and incredibly punchy images. What's your sort of standard process?
Well, I start everything in Lightroom, just making color adjustments and white balance and all of that. It's really up to whatever I'm going to do. I used to do a lot of composite, and I still do mostly for my personal projects with my kids, both for regular portraiture and with now the new features of Lightroom with the new masking, retouching portraits it makes it so much easier. Just the preparation for the skin and the hair and the colors and everything is super, super, super easy. But I do prepare everything, and I like to do a lot of color preparing before moving to Photoshop. And if I say that I retouch everything on Lightroom and I don't go to Photoshop, I will be bullshitting you, because Photoshop is such a huge part of what I do. But then whenever I finally move to Photoshop, I skin and clean up. I dodge and burn is huge in my retouching. I use frequency separation just to fix wrinkles in the clothing, tones in the skin, and certain things like that. It's really of the image. And then I do a lot of color grading, and my technique to do color grading is using luminosity mask, because that allows me to really break the image into different luminosity areas of the image, like adding a little bit of color in every single one of them. And I really, really love doing that. But to me, it's just, as we were talking before, I'm not like a strict workflow or a strict, things. I hate systems. I hate, putting myself. I love experimenting. Every time that I'm doing a picture, retouching a picture, everything that I'm doing, anything, I'm trying something different. It's just something that I need to do to feel alive, even if I suck. So you're gonna see me like if I record my screen and I'm retouching, you're gonna see me like trying different things and trying to delete it. Oh, I'm gonna keep this, and then I'm gonna add that, and then I'm gonna remove this, and I always have the need to really tweak things here and there. I don't think that I could just click a preset and then go to Photoshop and click a preset and then thing is done. Probably will save me time, probably will make me more money, probably whatever, but it wouldn't take me to the flow.
Yeah.
To me, the flow is experimenting. It's really trying taking it out there, because if I do two things and it was like, that's too simple. And even if it looks weird, it's like, that's too simple. There has to be something more to it,
Yeah, I find myself...
there are steps that I take most of my images before I experiment.
Yeah, I find myself flip-flopping back and forth between Lightroom and Photoshop a lot. So I'd start something in Lightroom, and as you say, the masking functions are incredible. They're so useful. And it just saves you so much time. I mean, a lot of the masking stuff that previously I would have done exclusively in Photoshop, I'm now entirely doing
easier in Lightroom.
Yeah.
Subtract, add.
Yeah, exactly.
Intercept and all of that. I've been trying all of that and how I can incorporate it and how I can do so many things, and I love them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really is. It's incredible. And then, so if I go to Photoshop for things like frequency separation, for example, and then I'd flip-flop back into Lightroom, because I prefer Lightroom rather than using the same sort of functions in Photoshop. I just visually, Lightroom is more appealing to my eye, which is why I like to, when I do colors, for example, I prefer to do that in Lightroom.
In Lightroom, colors in Lightroom, the control of the colors, I love doing that in Lightroom. And even when I'm done in Photoshop, I go back to Lightroom and I do my final adjustments on every single picture in Lightroom. And as you said, the color, like manipulating the colors in Lightroom is just a piece of cake. I love that part too.
And then even, when I use sort of external plugins like this plugin suite called the Nick Connection, which I like a lot.
I love Nick. Yes, I've been using Nick forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's it's beautiful and really, I then come straight back into Lightroom and then make some final corrections in Lightroom. And that's it. And even like black and white conversions, like what's it called, silver effects or something? The part of Nick Connection. Yeah.
Yes.
That's such a great black and white converter that I use a lot.
And the Adobe presets that are now in Lightroom are really, really worth to really experiment and navigate. And the same with the word it came and left, the profiles. Contemplating and playing around with. So there is a lot that can be done in Lightroom. As I said, I will then lie and tell you that I will then that I just retouch everything in Lightroom, because I always go to Photoshop, because there are certain things that you can do in Photoshop that you cannot do in Lightroom. But I always start and finish my images in Lightroom. And the thing is, like, some people is like, you should try Capture One. It's like, I've tried and probably super cool, but I have like my head is configured completely to my library, to my exporting thing and everything already with Lightroom, that I'm pretty sure that Capture One is fantastic, but I just I move everything directly to my SmugMug accounts, and even when I'm working with my clients, everything is from Lightroom. That it seems like including something else, I don't think that there is a space for it in my mouth.
So I've just recently started using Capture One, but entirely for tethering, because Lightroom has, I think I've come to the end of the line with Lightroom as a tethering tool. It's really, it's gotten, I think it's gotten worse. And then when the macOS changed recently, and then Lightroom wasn't able to tether Nikon cameras for months, I kind of thought, well, forget about that. That's detrimental, because I've got clients and I need to tether during a shoot, and so I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm done with Lightroom. And then the Nikon cameras.
How does your workflow is right now? How did you incorporate? Like, how did you bounce? Do you bounce here and there? What did you do?
So it's very simple. I mean, I entirely use Capture One for tethering only, and so it'll essentially record the images. It'll save the images into a folder, and when the session is done, then I literally import that folder into Lightroom, and then everything's back to normal.
So you don't try retouching or anything? You haven't experiment with?
I've had a little look at it. I haven't really had time to. I've only when did I sign up to Capture One? Maybe about 4 weeks ago. So I switched to Capture One really out of necessity, because I had clients, and Lightroom wasn't playing ball, and so I had to make sure that was happening. Because I did one session where I was going through a Nikon driver that then and then I set Lightroom up to read the files out of a particular folder, and it was such a roundabout way, and I kind of thought, this is ridiculous, I can't be doing that. And I'm there with the client, and it literally takes 15 seconds for the image to show up in Lightroom, because it has to go through so many different steps. So that's not, that's such a waste of time, and it's also doesn't look great. So I kind of thought, okay, I'm done with tethering in Lightroom. I'm just going to switch to Capture One for that. But then from an editing point of view, I'm just so used to Lightroom and to editing in it. And I think
that's the thing, that there's so many, and there are things coming out all the time, and new techniques, and And that's why I find myself, and that's why I don't sleep. And even when I'm just like, I'm gonna watch this thing on Netflix, and I still have my computer in my lap because everything moves so fast.
Yeah.
And like to me with Capture One is the thing is just like, do I really have time to dig into it and learn something? Well, it's just and it's just like now with artificial intelligence, like, you know, with Firefly, with Midjourney and all of that. And I've always been the one that when something comes out, especially because I have kids, you know,
Yeah.
as soon as something comes out, whatever it is, technology-wise, whatever, photography, what, I'm jumping into it and I'm pushing myself to learn it because, you know, I can tell my teenage boy, hey, do you want me to teach you how to do this?
Yeah. Exactly.
I know that it's going to be a point that he's going to be like, moms, no, don't like that. But if I can hold this as long as I can and, you know, be the know-it-all at home, I'm going to try to do it. But gosh, it is just hard to keep up with everything. So to me, it's just time consuming. Like I have, there's so many softwares and things to retouch that I have. I have voice effects, and I want to try and I want to do composites and I want to use it in a way. Just like I just don't have the time right now just to sit and try to experiment and it requires a lot of time, but at the same time, it's just like I cannot just be there and learn to do certain things. But
you know,
it is bananas.
We need another pandemic. That's what we need.
But fuck no.
At least you have a lot of time to play around. That's cool.
Fuck no. If the schools are open, I'm all for it. But no.
Yeah,
no,
yeah, same.
thank you. Thank God. Here it was fine. I mean, we managed, and I transformed my house into a jungle. Like I brought props, and we did like fireplace, like we did so many things. But there was a point I was like, they need to go to school because I cannot deal with this.
Yeah.
And like virtual school wasn't working. Now things changed when they opened up Disney. And people were scared to go to Disney. We were the first day there. Even before they opened to the public, they did like a soft opening for pass holder, and we were some of the few ones that went. And it was the most magical time. Like we were at Disney and there was nobody around us. And it was like that for months. Like I have video of us in ride, and there was nobody but us in the ride, you know?
Yeah.
But you had to wear those masks, and we live in Florida and it was hot as hell.
Yeah.
But it was great. But no, thank you. I just don't want to be locked here again anymore in those conditions.
You know, I remember...
Not even to learn anything.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to London just when things started opening up again here. And I mean, I've never seen London so empty. You know, it's one of those, it's one of those cities that's just busting with tourists usually. You know, it's like an ant. It's like an ant's nest, you know. It's like this.
But it is here, like Orlando. Orlando is filled with entertainment and tourists. It's a tourist town 1,000%, and it was creepy to drive around.
Yeah, I remember
but it was good too.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I remember going into London, and I remember walking down the Strand, which is like a street right in the center. And I'm thinking, wow, I've never seen it this empty. Like this is, you know, there were people, things had opened up again, but it was like, it felt a little bit like, oh, this is what it must have been like in 1880.
Yeah.
You know, it's like only a very small percentage of the population actually around. So it was really interesting.
I took pictures of Disney that I would never be able to take. Like empty pictures during the day, because I used to go and take pictures of Disney and wait until everybody leaves and the security will be behind and I would be like there. And I think that one with Dave Williams, we went to Magic Kingdom and we were the last ones to leave Magic Kingdom. Yeah, and you do that at night, but during the day, like taking pictures of everything empty and videos, that will never ever happen again.
Yeah.
But
It's an interesting experience. I agree
Yeah.
with you. I don't want to replay that
No,
that
thank you.
experience at all.
No.
Yeah, it's the same here.
That's a
Although,
big no.
as always, it was one of those things where, just by being a little bit creative, I found that I could really improve my sort of situation. At the time, like, because you remember
Yeah,
this?
dude, but you know what? I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
Like, leave it out of photography.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the only income in my household. The only income,
Yeah.
taking care of 2 kids. It was freaking stressful.
It was stressful as
I
hell.
don't
Yeah, no,
want to
I
have,
agree.
and I'm not telling you. I'm telling you, like, thankfully, I did a lot of things, and things like magically happen, and I did a lot of deals, and there was a lot of virtual learning, and there were lots of company pay me to create content and to do interviews and to do all of that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go through that stress
No.
again of this, like, oh, is this going to ever pick up, or do I have to now figure out another way of living?
Yeah.
So, no,
Well,
thank
especially
you.
in the beginning when when it wasn't clear how long this whole thing was going to last. Anyhow,
Yeah, yeah,
because I
yeah.
remember thinking like, oh well, yeah, because it started in, I think it was March or April or something, is when it all started.
March.
Yeah, and then my wife and I were flights booked to Canada for August,
Oh,
and I remember, because all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, should we cancel the flights? Or, we're talking to the airline, and they were like, oh, well, you can either cancel a flight and we get you all your money back, or you can bank the flights for next year. And I remember thinking at the time, like, but it's August. All of this is going to be over by August. Like, why are we stressing? And then, of course, August
yeah,
came along and it
yeah.
wasn't. And then the following August came along and it still wasn't over. Oh, my God.
No, no, no. And just freaking out, like, if my kids, what's like, if my kids get it, but what if I get it?
Yeah.
And we don't have any family or anybody here. And,
Yeah.
like, friends or neighbor are not going to help you, because if I get it, they're not going to help me with my kids, because my
No,
kids might have it too.
exactly.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. I don't want to have to go through the rumination of,
Yeah.
and the fear
Yeah.
of the pandemic ever again.
Yeah. There were really some, like, there were some tough times. My youngest daughter doesn't live with me. She lives with her mom, and she's with me at the weekends. So typically she comes over every weekend. But of course, at the time, that couldn't happen because there was this fear of, like,
Yes.
cross contamination or whatever. And so I didn't see her for, I can't remember, like 3 months or something. And it was a killer. As a parent, we can't,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
of
physically,
course.
there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can walk up and look through the
Yeah,
window, but
yeah,
it's, oh man, I don't want to go back there again.
yeah. No. And how many marriages didn't make it?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was one of the things. And I always will say this. I'm proudly a single mom, and I'm gonna be this lady. I don't want cats or dogs, but I'm gonna be this lady for the rest of my life. And I'm always like, I don't want to live as a couple anymore. I'm happy the way I am, and I love my power of being the way that I am. But I have never, ever, ever in my life felt so happy to be single than during the pandemic, because I was like, can I imagine just marriage is hard as it is, but being loved for the love with somebody with nothing to do, that to me was like the worst nightmare ever. So yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. I know.
Yeah, I
After
know so many people that call it quits after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's count ourselves lucky that we don't
Yeah,
have to deal with that anymore. So,
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, no.
right. So back to happier
Oh,
times.
yes.
What's on your agenda for the future?
My agenda for the future. Like, you mean I know that I have the Lightroom conference with Kelby One. I'm teaching 2 classes there. I actually, I have so many things. Like, this just this weekend alone, I put together 11 different classes, photography classes and retouching classes. That are gonna be like all over the place, but there are so many things. It's just like always working not only in just the photography side of things, but in the teaching side of things that I really love. And the way that I love it is just that I love to teach just my style and how I do things and things that they resonate with me. So I really, really, really enjoy like my crazy workflow of coming up with ideas or retouching my pictures in Lightroom or Photoshop or building up sets or, doing little techniques here and there to take the photography to the next level or just to try to push people to look at things in different ways to be more creative. So I love that side, that part of what I do too, which allows me. The good thing about that teaching side of things is it's like self-portraiture, that what I'm teaching is just me, the way that I do it and how I do it. So there is total freedom just to create and to retouch and to do the things the way that I want them. Now, even though I love it too, when I work with clients, whether it is a personal brand client or a family or a campaign or whatever, you always have to kind of make both sides happy, so you don't have that total freedom of creating of everything. But when I'm teaching, I'm retouching just the way that I do it, the way that I want to do it. I'm taking the picture the way that I want it and the way, and if people are watching this because they somehow feel or believe that my craziness resonates them somehow, and I'm thankful for that because, I'm just tapping into my crazy self, just to put things out there. And the same thing with self-portraiture is the same in my photography now when I'm creating my personal branding. Photography is huge, and it's something so funny because I never decide one day I'm gonna be a personal branded photographer. No, I've been doing like my self-portraitures and all of that and putting it out there just to try to show people what I'm capable of and just, to show myself out there. You have to be in everybody's eyes, right? And people started telling me, oh, I want a picture like this for my business and, for this or for this brochure and blah, 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 blah. And then I started getting more clients, and out of nowhere, oh, I'm a personal brand photographer. So I do have a lot of clients with that. And I will say that that's like mostly what I do now. And so that's part of my future for now. There are a couple of things that I cannot say yet, but
So if people want to find out more about your style, where can they find you?
Well, most of my educational content is on Kelby1. I think there are a few things on my website as well. That is GILMARphotography.com. And I would say Gilmar with a G, GILMAR photography.com. And you can follow me on social media. I do a lot of reels. I do a lot of everything. And I show you, if you like Disney, I can take it Disney every single weekend because that's where we are every single weekend. And just a little bit of life, not just photography, just life and clicking things real and crazy.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Gilmar, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It was a total education.
Thank you.
And I absolutely loved speaking to you. And I'll tell you what, the funny thing about the Gilmar versus Gilmar thing is I can't even tell you how many times Dave Williams had to correct me on your name. Like literally.
Well, everybody does it. Like in every single one of my presentation and in my website and everywhere, you're gonna see that is my name and then is how it is pronounced right next to it because it's like I have to. And my dad's name is Gilberto, and my mom's name is Maria. So Gilmar, that's how they
Oh,
They're so
okay.
smart. That's how they came up with my name. So, yeah, so the G is pronounced as a name.
Perfect. See, never stop learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely
Never
love it.
stop learning.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Hilmar. It was an absolute education.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me. It was so much fun.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content. But before you go, let me just share a quick insight from behavioral science. When you engage with content you enjoy, you not only make the creator's day, but you also trigger a positive emotion in yourself. It's a small action that can make a big difference in how you feel. So by liking, commenting, or sharing this video, you're not only supporting us, but you're also benefiting yourself. It's a win-win situation. If you enjoyed this episode, let me recommend another episode that I think you'll love. Check out episode 144, where I discuss some great tips for creative portrait photography. And if you have any suggestions or feedback, we'd love to hear it. Your comments are incredibly valuable to us and help us improve our content. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts. Remember to hit the like button, ring the bell, and share with your friends. You can help us reach a greater audience all over the world. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next Thursday.